Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Rays, here today to talk to you about the new units on the JP side. We got a Archer, we got a Mage, and we got a brand new EX job for one of the older units. So we're going to look at all three of those today, and that's basically going to be the video for the most part. I do want to talk a little bit about something to do with our new free unit on the JP side, because I do think it is important. And this is, I think, a big part of my evaluation of him and his effect on the game. And honestly, I'm still a little torn about how I'm going to exactly call, I think, him being put in the game. But I'll try and think of it by the end of this video. Woo! Okay, so let's talk about our first unit, which is Moore here. She is our new mage killer. She is essentially put into the game to be a counter to mages. More importantly, she is a specific counter to a very specific mage. She is a 100% counter to Black Witch Helena, the new double cost UR, who has been really popping up in a lot of places because she is just so strong and she is so good in a lot of pieces of content that here's her counter. And yeah, there isn't really too much of a way to look at Moore. She is not good against physical units at all. She is really just very strong against mage units, and she is basically put in the game to counter mages, but very specifically to counter a specific mage. If I was to equate it to something, I would kind of put it to Sakura to Kain. In that sort of screw that part of the meta. I don't think this will be a complete cancellation of her. I think that she has maybe a few too many weaknesses to be a completely scary, especially because Black Witch Helena is usually paired with some physical units, and that's really all you need. So yeah, I think that this unit is very good. As you can see here, the stats end up being pretty nice. 1362 is still a lower magical statistic, or sorry, lower magical stat than some of the more recent mages on the JP side, who can hit roughly about 1500, but it's still pretty good. Taking a look also, speed is, nice. Dexterity is pretty good. HP is even pretty nice. Looking at resistances here, as you can tell, screw mages is the general thematic theme of this character, and there are her status effect resistances that you can down there. Taking a look at what she has for equipment, she does have a pretty juiced out mace, a pretty good coat on her for boosting her magic. Not only that, she does have this brand new TMR, which is a pretty nice TMR overall. As you can see, it's got some HP, it's got some critical avoidance, it's got some spirit on it, and also has a ability to it too, which if I just down to my notes, Own Faith up and Allies Mental up for 3 turns with a negation of certain status effects, Sleep, Slow, and I think it is... I think it's Don't Act, so Disable, I'm pretty sure. It's either Disable or Paralyze, but I'm pretty sure it's Disable. Pretty sure about that. Alright, so talking about this character in general, I really don't think that there is too much in the way of surprises in her kit, so I'm just going to talk quickly and get the lower jobs out of the way. First of all, Red Mage. She does have Kira, Watera, Asuna. She has Magic Jammer and she has Sipple, so she can basically... Magic Jammer is a really strong ability, so I think that's fine, and Sleep is a good status effect, so I think that's fine too. Magic Dodging is the counter ability, which again cements her as just being very anti-mage, and she does have the AP up and the increased resistance to magic attacks, again, because they're mages. Clerics, I don't think that there's really too much to talk about. Most of the stuff with Clerics is pretty standard here, but she does have Dark Veil in her kit, which increases darkness resistance for allies for 3 turns. So again, really countering one specific unit, but she does have anti-calamity too, which could be useful in PvE content. I do think that that is particularly good, and she does have the light veil as well to go with the dark veil. That does have auto care, don't think that's really worth it, and spirit up, which again, but I think her red mage abilities are probably better if you're just trying to counter against mages. Really like that, maybe a little bit more, but also in her main job, Kododama, move and jump up ability, magic power dependent damage with, sure hit abilities, the cone AoE attack, as well as just some good powerful abilities for dealing damage, for boosting. Really nothing that looks surprising here. She does have the reduced damage with probability when taking damage. That's another one you could do. And she has Blessing of Fire Spirit, which gives her extra spirit and fire resistance. That's probably the one you'd want to run more, just to give some fire resistance, or magic attack up by 30%. A lot of talk there, and talking about her EX abilities. First of all, the new ability is kind of interesting. It is like the targeting area is a direct line in front of her that then spreads out to a 2x3 AoE area of attack, magic dependent damage large for targets within range, and magic power down for 3 turns, as well as a silence effect that disables magic for 3 turns probability. Very, very strong ability here. I don't need to explain why that this is a strong ability. It is just good. It is just flat out good. It is a mage killer ability, especially in PvP, and it is an ability that will shine, I think, very, very brightly. It is just a complete counter to mage, and it is AoE too, and it does deal large damage, so everything you want and a bag of chips. Other than that, her spirit up, as well as and fire resistant one, is the one that gets a increase from going up to EX, strengthens the spirit up and increases HP limit, so makes her a little bit tankier. And the last ability she gets is the create a barrier and reduce damage to yourself for 3 times, with a shell effect to reduce magic damage for 3 turns and regeneration as well. So yeah, everything about this unit is very simple, very straightforward, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think that this unit is a really good counter to all mages, and I think she is really scary at level 120 with a complete just delete the enemy, or reduce the enemy's magic power, and not only that, but silence them too. I mean, why just kick a person when they're down? Why not just shoot them in the leg as well so they can't get back up? She is a very mean character. I think that she'll stand up pretty well to fire characters, but really, I just think that if you are really in the anti-mage meta, then this is the anti-mage you want. And I think that she'll still be pretty good in farm content as well, just because if you take a look at her limit burst, which we'll get out of here for a second and head over to the banners, because I also want to show off her limit burst, the animation. It's pretty darn good. Because honestly, I love the water element, but I really, really absolutely love meteor style spells. One of my favorite things from like early playing of Final Fantasy. I just think that meteor base attacks are just so cool. All right, so taking a look at the limit burst again, or for the first time, but it is a large AoE effect, and that is one of the things that I think will be very strong of it. But magical dependent damage, large after reducing water resistance. This is essentially Medina's ability, but on a different element, and water has a lot of strong characters to it. Aldera is another good AoEer who could quickly follow this up and just get some chain damage in there, be maybe potentially a more effective farm team. I think that with Titus as well, that is a very strong group of units. So I personally think that this is a great unit all around for a lot of content, just not against. Alright, and second unit to talk about is Cowell. Now, Cowell is a unit that is very easy to get. As it turns out, basically you play a level 20 map and you end up getting the first copy of him, and from there, it's from what I've totaled up from free character shards, you can essentially get 240 in total. I haven't got it yet. Back off. Okay, just kidding. Not really. It was a joke, a bad joke. Yeah, Cowell, you can get about 240 free shards, and the rest you are going to have to pay for, which does hurt my evaluation of him a little bit, because without a limit burst, I do think that characters are a little more monotonized and a little bit less special, and just have one less thing that is really one of the standout things about units. You think, like, if I was to look at the new Mage Girl, if she didn't have that watered down massive AoE limit burst, I think my evaluation would be lower considerably of her. So I think that that is a really strong point to looking at these units. Taking a look at his Trust Mastery, it's just a strong bow. I don't think that there's anything that really needs to be said about this. It is just a good bow weapon to get that is particularly really strong. Just going to check real quick here, make sure that there's nothing else. So 154 HP, and normal attack, evasion on rate down. I think it means that the enemies are less... It either means that the enemies are less evasive, or he can become more evasive. I think it's the first one. All right, taking a look at his kit. First job that it really kind of stands out is Nightblade. Means that if this unit does get up close and personal with enemies, he does have options against it. And Nightblade has some good stuff in it. It has Stun Blade, it has Spinning Slash, it can give resistance to other units, it has AP Drain, which isn't bad at all. And thankfully he did end up getting Drain Rush, which is the 3-hit consecutive attack ability that also heals part of the damage, which I think is going to be very useful for him if he ever does need to use it. But the AP Drain as well is pretty nice. He does have Counter Swing, Counter Attack on damage with this, and he does have attack and hit rate up. So, yeah, I think overall Nightblade is just a particularly good one to have. Gunner, I don't think I really need to talk too much about this. Blackout, aim at foot, double shooting, advice, which ups the critical rate of allies within range and centered around himself. Sidewinder, he does have counter shot. He has the range +2 with avoidance rate down, and he has shooting attack power up, which is very useful because his master ability has shooting attack power up. His gunner has shooting attack power up, and so does Sniper. Sniper also has shooting attack power up. So this is a unit that I think is potentially a really strong and possibly one of my more favorite archers in the game, because I do think that all of that is going to push him to be just generally really strong. Sniper has defense penetration up for himself. He has slow shoot. He has the move -1. He has dispel of enhancements. He has barrier breaker arrow, arm shoot, target share, paralyzed trap, and counter smoke for his counter ability from that class as well. I think this guy has a lot of good options. I think really if you just run the gunner sub as well as like his main shooting power up, he's just going to have a ton of extra shooting power to him that is going to be just really good overall. Taking a look at his evaluation in terms of his EX, the new ability he gets is Essential Bow, which is a damage to target large that is a sure hit ability. One of the things that I think was missing from Niv, if I remember correctly, was it was either Niv or Winter Victoria. I really wanted them to have a sure hit ability to just be more accurate and not have to deal with accuracy issues. That does get it at level 120, and that is a big thing. And it is a large damage ability as well, which I think is particularly nice. Taking a look at his other ones, he also has The cancel all enhancements ability also gets an AP consumption down. Don't think that's really super big, but it is an AoE ability and it does get rid of enhancements, so that's kind of nice. And last one, increase accuracy for allies within range centered on himself for 3 turns. Increase range of 1 for 3 turns, and increase defense penetration rate. So that buff to himself and allies is particularly strong as well. So taking a look at this character, I mean, there's a couple of things to note. First of all, he is just a free character. You can get him without having to worry about pulling him from the gacha. He does have close combat piece. He does have high hit attacks, and at level 120, he can deal with evasive-based characters, which I think makes a lot of sense for a sniper. But anyway, high hit, strong against and he can potentially just, you can get rolling with a fair amount of free character shards. Other than that, I do think him not having a limit burst is a problem. I think it takes away from a character's uniqueness. I think also it is a little bit of a bad get from the gacha. He is on this banner currently with the new character too, kind of splitting the rates, and I don't think that is... I think that he's kind of a little bit, and I hate to say this because, again, I think that he is one of the better range characters just on his primary kit and what he has in his kit. I think that it's a very, very strong physical range build. However, I think that it is a big problem that he just does not have that limit burst. And again, he's kind of diluting the rate in the pool, and at this point, he does feel like against a lot of other permanent UR characters that he is a bit of a troll, because even if he's really good, he just isn't a complete unit. And I don't know, I don't understand the reason why he doesn't have this. I mean, he's a free character, but he's technically a gacha character as well, and if it's really about the fact that the devs are behind and working on something, just put the ability in the game, code the ability, and don't even worry about the animation. Limit burst animations are great, and I think all of us really like them a lot, but if it's between that, of not having a limit burst because they couldn't do the animation, or having just the extra ability, give the extra ability all time, especially if it's a character that is in the gacha pool. I just don't like this. I don't like seeing him there. I think he either needed to be a completely free character without a limit burst, and maybe this is entitled, but no, I just think this is the way it should be based on previous stuff in the game. And to make a fair point about the Final Fantasy XIV characters who don't have limit bursts, yeah, they should have limit bursts too. That's one that still I'm not happy about. Alright, so yeah, let's just continue on before my rant gets too entirely long, and talk about the last character we need to talk about, which is Vistrall. And this is a character who I'm not the biggest fan in the entire world. He's not my favorite character, but he is some people's favorite character. I'm gonna give him the spotlight, as soon as I find him in. There he is. He's level 1 and 65, fully awakens. Alright, taking a look at this, he does, one of his counter abilities is going to get an increase from going up to level 120. An increase in activation probability. When damaged, the chance that your own agility will be greatly increased for 1 turn. Slashing attack power up will also be increased, and a move +1. So I think that this is a big improvement to a counter ability, and I think it's a really good improvement to a counter ability. But I am curious, if given how strong some of the other damagers can be, if whether or not this is even really that good. Because if he can't survive it, then it doesn't really matter. And is it really worth trying to get him to be able to be survivable by this? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it is I do like the improvement of a counter ability, because I think sometimes counters can feel a little bit weak if they're not just reflex. Alright, Next up, Suddenly Strengthened. Damage to the target large, defense down before doing damage, always hit, and critical hit. This is a good ability. One of the abilities that I think has always been my favorite of Venera's is just being able to defense down. And this one I do like. It is not a multi-turn ability. It's just for the this one attack, but still a large damage hit ability. That's all that defense is down from the back is a great one. Always hit and critical are good improvements. So yeah, really like that ability overall. And the last one, the Iron Needle Throw, which has a big range of 4, I do believe, if I'm counting that correctly. It's really, really tiny on my screen, but matter of fact, I think I can even pull it up with the damage to the target large and own CT up. This is just great. Range ability, more range to thieves is just really good. They should not be constrained to just having to be really close to an enemy. This gives them some good options and gives them more CT. Great. I like this ability. Overall, I think he is a solid little 120. I don't think that he is anything super spectacular, but good enough that I wouldn't have a problem. You know, if people said, I like the unit and I want to build him up to level 120, I think there's some potential there. I'd be interested if anybody does actually build him, because I'm not going to. What kind of performance you end up getting out of him. Yeah, that's basically it. Oh, and one last thing before I totally forget in making this video, and someone's like, why, you forgot this. Here is a look at Vistrall's resistances, a little bit of resistance against shooting. Not so good against strike. Pretty good resistance against other shooters too. Mages and spears neutral. So overall, all right, sum up at the end of this video. I think that Moore is a absolutely top tier character for both PvP and PvE content. She is a 100% fully purposed anti-mage mage that will do very well. I like her limit burst. I like her general overall design of her kit and everything. And I think she's another strong get for the water elemental units. So really just big thumbs up to her. In terms of Cowell, really nice little free unit for a lot of players, especially players who maybe don't have a ton of resources. I do think that it is a really weird split decision on not giving him a limit burst and putting him in the gacha pool, given that they are just not doing a limit burst. I don't care if they don't have to do a VA. I think that this is a incredibly weird, it's just this weird situation where it feels half good, half bad, where he's like very clearly a strong ranged character, but at the same time I just think the situation here of this weird in the gacha pool but not a full kit character that you can get for this short period of time, as well as him up to LB3, but then after that you're still on the hook for a ton of other stuff. So I don't really know how to feel about that, but I think that overall he's definitely a strong unit. I just don't want to see him in my gacha pulls basically ever. And as for Vistrall, a good EX unit to be sure, but do I think that he is anything absolutely amazing and incredible? No. But I don't think he's bad either. So that's my opinions for all of this stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of these characters, and that'll be all for now. See you next time. Take care.